Last time the Star Wars Chronicles mirrored princes. Dragonel went to find his father in hopes to figure out what exactly is going on with him. However, as he and his father discussed, they learned something very uncomfortable that actually turned out to be untrue. This leads to Dragonel freeing an old foe that sent everyone in a panic, being on Dragonel. Dragonel manages to absorb all the energy from his father, and then decides to fight him, his son, and see which one comes out on top. Dragonel tried his best, but unfortunately couldn't match the raw power that Dragonel had. It eventually leads him going to near-death experience, where he was thankfully saved at the last second. However, it left both him and his father in a very critical state. Dragonel, on the other hand, was captured by Overlord, where both of them decided to make a deal to work with each other to get what they want. Leading to now. Episode 14. Mama's Boy.
Come along, Scales. It's going to be night soon. You don't want your father to worry about us.
That voice echoed within the dark void. It was enough for a couple of eyelids to slowly open up to a white blur. It pans out to show H.R. Dragonel V lay still on a hospital bed. And that's when he started to hear a heart monitor to his left as his eyes finally opened. Studying his surroundings, he doesn't take notice of anything peculiar until he feels a sharp pain in his chest. He sits up to see what it was that are grabbing it. Looking down, he sees an entire midsection wrapped up with bandages. He then checks out his entire body to see other bandages around him as well. That's when the door opened in front of him. He looks up to see a line doctor walk towards him. "Oh good, you're awake." He sits in the chair next to him. "What happened to me?" His voice is incredibly raspy. "You almost died, that's what happened." He looks shocked at hearing that. "Fortunately, your father managed to jumpstart your heart again, despite the fact that you were in critical condition. You've been out of it for nearly 2 weeks now." That's when some memories of the fight with Dragonel swarm back to him. "Thankfully, the scars on your body aren't deep enough. I'll say you were incredibly lucky. Those scars won't go away, but after a while, it shouldn't hurt you." "Where's Dad?" The line doctor gave him a concerned look. The scene cuts in another room. There, his dad was sat in a wheelchair looking out the window depressed. "He almost had a near-death experience as well, as he almost died of overexhaustion. We were able to get his vitals on a stable level, but the way he is now, I'm afraid he won't be able to use his ability ever again. If he does, he might exhaust himself to the point beyond saving." The youngest stared at him concernedly. "I think you and him should have a talk. It may not be my place, but I do feel like you both need it right now." He nods, walking in. His father took notice of the door. Thinking it was another doctor, he didn't really acknowledge it. "What did the tests say this time?" "They say I'm still alive." Shocked, he turned around to see his son stand there. "Scales?" He turns his chair around and rolls straight towards him. Tears in his eyes, he had the biggest smile on his face. "Thank God! I thought you wouldn't make it!" He opens his arms out for a hug, but after his son says his condition, his son doesn't take it. "What's wrong?" "I'm sorry." "About what? We're both fine, aren't we?" He shook his head. "I'm glad you're still alive at the very least." He then begins to walk away. "Wait, don't just..." His son didn't listen as he walked away completely. The doctor tried to help him back in as his father saw through the window. He didn't see the son slam his fist into the nearby wall, leaving a hole there from where he punched. With that action, his father knew exactly how he was feeling. This takes us back to the youngest's room. He had his face buried within his arms as his mind raced with the previous events. After remembering what the doctor said about his father, he begins to wonder even more. That is, until his door slowly opens. He looks to see Edric stand there, concerned. Without saying a word, they both just stare at each other unflinchingly. Edric comes in closer, sit by the bed, still silent. Dragonel just goes back to his bed. Trying to break the tension, Edric laughs slowly. "Quite the show, wouldn't you say?" Dragonel barely cracked a smile. "It's good that you're still alive." "Is it?" Edric's tension returned to him. "Of course it is. I hate to lose my best friend. He was still young. Don't forget, I'm your brother from a different... Stop pretending you care." Edric didn't respond to that. He merely accepted it. "I understand why you're doing this, but just tell me the truth. I want to know how you really feel." Edric didn't know what to say. "You have no problem telling everyone else how you feel. Why do you lie to me?" "Dragonel, I'm never lied to you. What you did was stupid, yes, but I'm concerned. Enough of the bullshit." He grows his scales angrily. "I'm not..." "If you cared, you would have stopped me long before." He stopped himself before he continued. "I tried to, believe me." Dragonel just shook his head again. Edric sighs for his next statement. "I want to help you figure it out, but you can't." After he said that, the Sentinel wheels came closer to them. Look over to see the oldest rolled on in. He looked at him awkwardly. I hope I'm not interrupting anything. His son stares at him swiftly before turning away. No, look at me in the eyes, son. I'm sorry. Look at me in the eyes. It took a few seconds before he slowly turned to him hesitantly. His father continued to stare confidently. Listen to me, and listen to me very carefully, as I want you to understand clearly. This isn't your fault. His son shook his head in denial. Look at you. How is it not my fault? His father came closer. Edward wasn't the only one who lied to you. I did. He looks back through his mind before nodding with confidence. And Dragonel was never the thing holding you back. Does that matter now? I released him. He almost killed both of us, but we're here, aren't we? And we still have the opportunity to make things right. He tried to get up from his chair, but his leg strength couldn't keep him up forever. Still, he had enough strength to slowly walk towards his bed. And it starts with me. It's time I told you what really happened. What's really holding you back? He looks at him squared in the eyes. It's what happened to your mother. His son looked confused. She died when he was young, right? Yeah, I know it hurt both of us, but I don't see how her death helped me back all those times. His father shook his head. No, not in your strength. Truth is, you were always strong enough. More so than I. It was your emotion that forced you to overthink it, but he quickly gets back in his chair to relax his legs. In order for this to make sense, we need stuff in the beginning. It's clear the memory is lost in your mind, but to help you, we need to unearth its tomb. We now go back to a distant time, one where current events haven't even started yet. Outside of Cursed Castle, we see a small red dragon running around the lush grass. He kept tossing a ball around while going after it. However, he stopped as he accidentally threw it over to someone approaching behind him. Oh, I'm sorry! The being laughed as she revealed her face. She was a cyan dragon with a short yellow scarf around her neck. She held the ball playfully while looking down at the small dragon.
Having fun, Scales?
After seeing who it was, the youngling smiled happily. She picks him up as he laughs with glee.
Geez, 5 years old and already you're just filled with energy.
Why don't you play with me, Momma? She thought it over while thinking about it. That's when she put the youngling down while playing with the ball.
Let's see, what can we play?
She then starts flying in the air while tossing the ball around.
Can you fly yet?
The young dragon tried, and he slowly did while flapping his wings really hard. He gave her a thumbs up as he reached her level.
Okay, I'm going to toss it in the air, and the first one who grabs it wins. Ready?
He nods confidently. Quickly, she tosses the ball hard as the race begins. Though they were neck and neck with the race, she was holding it back to give her son a chance. At that point, the ball began to fall down where they both of them reached for it. At the end, the young dragon grabbed it victoriously. He celebrated while holding on to the ball. That's right, I win! His mother clapped congratulations.
I knew you could do it.
He then heard a voice come from below them. Down there, they see the red dragon stand there. It was H.R. Dragonel IV, who looked worried as he watched him fly. Hey, get down here! He hasn't been able to fly for over 5 minutes! She sighs while holding on to the youngest. Flying down, she faces him while holding on to the tired dragon. Look at that, he's already out of it. See what you did to him, Holly? She rubbed his back while walking away from him.
My love, you're being too cautious of the boy. Did you not see what he did?
Of course I did. I'm still worried. The son fell asleep as they talked. She decided to take him inside.
Sleep tight, young blood.
It was now night, where the young dragon slept in some sort of bed. From a distance, he heard arguing come from the outside. He gets up curiously to see what was coming from. Leaving his room, he heads down the hall to see what was happening.
You need to calm down. This isn't something we should be afraid of.
Shocked, he sees the two parents arguing in the lounge area. I am calm. All that I'm saying is that we shouldn't force him along too quickly. He's going to straighten himself. These things take time. She points at him sternly.
You think I don't know that? I'm not trying to strain him. I'm trying to teach him. It would be a little more helpful if you were there.
He was stunned to hear that. What are you talking about? I'm always there. It's just that both Michael and I have a lot of work to do. It's not my fault that both of our fathers lived with nothing to... You saw after hearing their son run up to them. No, stop fighting! He gets in the middle of them as he desperately stares back and forth. As they stare at him, they both look at each other with concern left inside them. But that leads his mom kneels down to him.
It's okay, Scales. It's just a little disagreement between us.
Looks her confused. What's a disagreement? She picks up the debris into her level. It's when two people don't believe in the same thing. It's something everyone does, and it sometimes leads to fights such as this.
But it's okay. We both know there's no bad intent behind the things we say. It's just us trying to figure it out.
Though he was still confused, it went away as his father rubbed his son's head. It's gonna be okay. You don't need to worry about us. And he headed back to his room.
How about I sing you to sleep? Will that make you feel better?
He nodded while yawning. We now go back to his room, where his father leaned against the wall as his mother rubbed his head while singing.
Hush, little dragon, dreamland's almost near. Sleep happily as there's nothing left to fear. Soon you will fly, fly high above the sky. But now is the time to sleep through the night.
As she sang, the young dragon slowly went back to sleep. She shrugged his head for a few more seconds before quietly leaving alone with her husband. He, however, took one more moment to look at him before following. That's when they decided to head to their bed as well. However, something still lingered within his mind. Look, I'm sorry for getting mad. She sighed with that thought.
So am I.
Both stared at each other before smiling.
When he grows up, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, he looks back down to the hall. Me too. The scene transitions to a new day, where Holly and the young dragon fly through the sky again. The old stare from a balcony while reading through some paperwork. Other servants brought more as he sighed and bore them. That is, until his wife came down to him.
More legal stuff?
He groans painfully. Oh, how I wish it would end! Their son flew down to him quickly. Come on, Daddy, play with us! He stared at them longingly. As he did, Holly took their son a little away from him.
Look, Scales, he's got his hands full at the moment. How about we fly a little away from the castle to see how far we can get? That way you can show him how much better you got.
He shook his head happily. Okay, watch you, Daddy, he wheezed while looking. Go get him, young blood. They then flew away as fast as they could as the wind flew some papers away. He chuckles while signing some stuff. Those two, what would I do without them? After a while, he finishes the last legal document as the sun comes down. He gave a huge sigh of relief while looking towards the orange-filled sky. That late already. He gets up the stretch. Tomorrow for sure, then. That's a promise. He then begins to ponder. They have been out for quite a while. Wonder what's taken them. He then heard someone rushing in, for it was a tire guard. He was caught off guard by this. Is something wrong? The tire guard tried to catch his breath as Dragonel connected the dots. Going back to current times, the oldest sighed heavily as the two were heartbroken by this. That's when I got the message, and we haven't been the same since then. Dragonel was disheartened, but Edric was still confused. While losing someone close to you hurts, I still feel like we're missing something here. That can't be all of it. He shook his head. I'm telling you what I know. If there was anything else, there's only one person who knows anything about it. There were no eyewitnesses except for one. They both look over to the youngest, who tried to hold back his tears. Edric looked down as well as he knew it wasn't right to push him. Is that so, huh? Alright, I think that's Mother. Looks back up to him. His father nodded, knowing what needs to happen next. They head to a gravesite where they look over to see Holly Dragonel's grave. It was an arranged marriage. No matter how much I tried to speak against it, I had to comply for the time being. Thankfully, it was with someone I knew from my youth, so there was some romantic connection there. His son longingly looks at it. Believe it or not, we never really shared a moment together besides meals. Always wanted to, believe me, but it was one thing or another that always prevented it. His son didn't say anything, just shook his body subtly while walking closer to it. That day, he kneels to the ground as he breathes heavily. Edric quickly comes over to confront him. Tears fall from his eyes as things flash for him. How could I forget that day? The scene flashes back to what happened. Younger version of him grew tired as he flew towards a nearby tree. He stares off in the distance to see the castles incredibly far away. Holly eventually caught up to him.
Amazing, you beat your record.
He cheers again as they stare back together.
Think you can fly back to the castle?
After taking a deep breath, he flew up once more to test it out.
Go ahead, I'm right behind you.
As he did, someone peered from the shadows while looking on. He stared angrily at the young dragon before chasing him down. Holly took notice and flew quickly toward her son to defend him from the attack. She succeeds as the attack barely affects her. However, she accidentally knocks her son down to the ground hard. She flies down the fence as the being reveals themselves. It was some random bear creature who growled in anger.
Leave, or I'll make you.
Dragonel's successor will finish the work he started. He charged straight towards us. Holly deflected the attack with some makeshift water. The bear tried and tried again, as each attack was more aggressive than the last. Each time, however, Holly was able to hold back. Mom! She looks back to see her son recover.
Fly away, Scales. Go to your father. I'll be fine. I tangled with the likes of him before.
The bear tossed her straight back to the tree. Her son froze up as the bear came closer. He wishes death for the Dragonel bloodline, and his wish is my command. The bear charges forward, but he stopped as Holly struck him hard enough to leave a scar across his arm. Youngest slowly crawled away as the bout continued. As it did, the bear grew stronger with each attack to the point where Holly couldn't contain it. Each time left a scratch on her as the young dragon kept looking with horror. It got to the point where the young dragon gripped his soul hard. With a determined look, lightning came out from his hand to punch the beast hard. Both the bear and Holly didn't expect it, and the young dragon kept letting it in as the tears formed in his eyes. You will not hurt Mommy! Though he kept the attack up, the bear eventually overpowered him by grabbing onto his head. Too weak. The bear tossed him to the ground again, ready to go in for a slash. Holly, in a last effort, flew over to go for her own attack. The attack snapped with Holly's water piercing straight through the bear, leaving him fatally wounded. They didn't know what to say. All he can do was cry with joy.
Are you okay, Scales?
He looked forward to his mother, who stood there as blood dripped down. Turning back to him, she revealed the bear also mortally wounded her. Yet, she smiles. The young dragon couldn't believe it either, as he quickly ran over to hug her. She hugged back while making her way to the ground.
Listen to me, young blood. Everything is going to be all right.
Her son cried while shaking his head. Don't go, please. Shrugged him calmly.
I am right with you, see?
His face digs into her.
Don't cry.
I'm sorry, I should have.
You've done everything you could. This isn't your fault.
Shannon held a cough as her vision became blurry. Thinking it over, she looks at her son longingly.
Here, let's just rest together. I'll sing for you. Why don't you sing along with me?
He brings his head out before nodding. As they hugged, she sang a lullaby. Youngest tried to sing along with her, but he could barely make out the words as he cried harder.
Hush, little dragon, dreamland's almost near. Sleep happily as there's nothing left to fear. Soon you will fly, fly above the sky. But now is the time to sleep through the night.
Her breathing slowed as the sun drew her final breath. As she finished, the color went away from her eyes as her son cried endlessly. Though he didn't understand what happened, he knew that his mother wouldn't be waking up. He cried loud enough for the others to come to his position. We now return to modern day as Dragonel explained what he remembered. His father rubbed his son's head concernedly. They didn't know what to say as they stared at the grave. Edric held back his own tears as he looked away. I knew how she died, but I never... His son shook his head. Edric turned back to them while wiping one tear away from him. Bud? Dragonel looks back at him. Edric took a deep breath for his next statement. No matter what will happen, we'll still be here. I can guarantee you that. He walks with another thought. Take all the time you need. Dragonel does so as both him and his father grieve. To think I was responsible for not only my mom's death, but... No! Don't say that! He hugs him hard. Didn't you hear him? I'm still here. She did what she had to do. That is not your fault. His son shook his head. But if I was strong enough, you are strong enough. He held his shoulder after pulling him away. You took on someone who was twice your size and almost won. Dragonel shook his head. I should have never taken him on in the first place. He widened his eyes while striking the ground hard. I did the same damn thing by picking a fight with Dragonel. Maybe yes, but... His son flew off again. Scales, don't. He tries to get up, but fails to find the strength to do it. Dragonel flies off to a nearby building, where he lands on the roof with a heavy mind. He gets closer to the edge while looking onto the city. He feels one hit his face as he looks down to see some of the people living their life. He even sees a few kids play with their mother as well. He then leans down to weep into his arms. Before he did, he took notice of Edric Kane by the shoreline. He looks on weirdly as Edric sits off patiently. He flies close to see what was going on, only to stop as he notices someone coming closer to him. Going down to a nearby tree, He hides behind it to see Sora approach Edric by the dock.
You wanted to see me?
Edric took notice of her presence. Hey, Mom. She looks out the distance herself as she gets closer.
Something on your mind?
He gets up to face her. As he looks at her with saddened eyes, he hugs her tightly. She was caught out with this.
Whoa, where's this coming from?
He hugs her tightly as they stand there. I love you, Mom. She didn't know how to respond, only to hug him back as they stood there.
Oh, well, I love you too, Eddie.
She was overwhelmed, but welcomed it. They pulled away to look at each other, and as they did, they heard rushing come towards them as well. It was Mikey who held his hand back towards the sword in panic. I'm here. Where's the danger? Edric and Sora laughed as they came to them. He gave an unaware look. Dragonel was in the bushes, trying to get to them, but he was stopped by someone. Turns around to see his dad there, who motioned to keep quiet while shaking his head. He turns around to see Mikey ease up a bit. Apologies. Once I got a call from you, I thought Overlord showed his face again. Not this time as far as I'm aware. I called for a different reason. He quickly explains to him that Dragonel's story and how he feels about it as they sit on the dock.
That felt so long ago. No wonder he forgot.
I'd do the same if I was him too. Sora gripped the wooden board hard. I would say I know how he feels, but I was never there to see my dad.
He wants to push it all away.
I turned to her confused.
I did the same thing back then, and to make up for it, he wants to redeem his actions to other people.
She turned to him in shame. Mikey comes over to confront both of them. That does beg the question, why is it I never met your parents? Sora shook her head.
It's not easy for people to just let go.
She stares down to the water to see her reflection. But with a smile, she turned back to him in glee.
But it never prevents us from moving on.
Dragonel widened his eyes to hearing that within the bushes. All it does is hold us back. But once we do, it gets easier to breathe. Edric smiled after hearing that. He hugged them both as he did the same. Everyone gets up happily. Now then, let's see what we eat out. I heard from Dragonel that Cafe de Oceania serves amazing lobster. Sora giggled while shaking her head.
Really? Lobster? I thought you hated those luxuries.
They walked away. Edric needs to at least try it. Besides, his voice becomes muddled as the two dragons finally come out of the forest. Youngest stares off to them as his mind races once more. His father looks him concerned, but once his son noticed, he smiled calmly. That's when he put the hand on his son's shoulder. I've always believed in you, even when I was concerned. His son looks at his hand. Your mother believed that too. He looks back at him with that same look. That's when he heard screaming come from the far side of the island. Once more, Dragonel gets his electricity ready before flying off. Looking around, he sees a child calf get assaulted by a big bear. With a mad dash, he goes down to save. The bear cracked his knuckles looking down. So, you think you can just steal our food and get away with it?
I was just trying to feed myself.
With one step, the calf immediately gets into defensive position. Before he attacked the calf, however, he heard someone call to him. You should try picking on someone your own size. The bear turns around to see Dragonel and fly to him. With a smirk, he walks forward to him. Well, it isn't the kid who got his ass kicked by that Dragonel fellow weeks ago. Surprised to see you flying around. Dragonel get in front of him the calf to protect it. I didn't think you royals cared about the peasants like this. Whatever, none of you could stop me from getting my justice. Dragonel charges forward to punch the bear hard at the building beside them. The bear gets up from the rubble to dust himself off. Even with the bandages, you're still pretty strong. The bear tried another attack, but Dragonel managed to dodge all of them. I'm gonna make sure this cat gets out of this unharmed. The bear finally caught him. And in case you didn't realize, he stole from my sister. She saved that turkey for occasions such as tonight. It is her birthday, after all. He digs his claws deep into Dragonel's arm. Even then, why would you even get involved with us? This isn't your business. Dragonel growled in pain as he grabbed for the claw. And as he did, he managed to punch the bear away from him. The bear recovered, ready to go at it again. Only for another voice behind him to call out.
Brother, stop!
He turned around to see his sister run up in a panic.
Please stop fighting them.
As she said that, Dragonel finally came to a realization. He recalled every event, and this gave him one underlying idea. That's why I'm fighting. The bear looked at confused as Dragonel was too quiet for anyone to hear. Stay out of this, sis. I got this under. You don't get it. Everyone looked at him confused. That's okay. I didn't get it either until now. What are you on about? Dragonel looks at him fiercely as he holds onto his wound. I never understood this, but you shouldn't always feel obligated to protect people, even if you care for them. and they said that the sister bear went over to check on the calf. Instead, it's best to just support them. You don't need to be stronger or wiser, you just need to be with them. The sister checked the condition of the calf and found they were okay. Shannon turned to her brother.
I gave them my turkey because I legitimately felt bad for them. Besides, I had a spare in the bag. I know I should have told you, and for that I'm sorry, but...
The bear acknowledged what he'd done. He looks back over to Dragonel before making his own way to the calf. Holding out his hand, he gave him a smile. Sorry about that. Hope I didn't scare you too bad. The calf refused at first, so slowly reached out to him. Dragonel watched all with a smile. He then flies back up after noticing everyone was in decent shape. He flies out to his father, who waited for him by the dock. No one, Dragonel? The son landed with a smile on his face. He then hugs his father tightly. What did you see? The youngest laughed while pulling away. Something I should have done a long time ago. He smiles too as they stare out to the moonshine across the lake. Looking down to the water, the youngest saw an image of his mother behind him. Shocked, he sees her smiling at him. She nods confidently, giving the sign of confidently nod back. That's when she drifts away after one teardrop causes a ripple on the water. He looks back up to the side of the moon with his dad. His dad thought for a moment, but turned to him confidently with a smile. Scales, I want you to know one thing. They look at each other. Even if I can't fight anymore, I will always support you. No more lies. I'll make sure I do everything I can to help mold you into a strong leader. As if you aren't already on that path. They both left looking onto the sky. New day appeared. Some curse sat in the bar chatting up with a lot of others. Everyone had a good time, but a Sabbath's news report came up. One person pointed out that they saw the oldest dragon in a wheelchair sit on front of a mic with guards around him. The oldest gave a fierce glare, knowing exactly what he needed to say. My cursed brethren, today I bestow upon you regrettable news. Because of my injuries in the previous fights, I can no longer use my ability. Meaning I have no choice but to retire as a soldier and star warrior. Everyone gave a shocked gasp with some angry shouts. As everyone reacted to this in their own way, the speech continued. This wasn't easy to come to, but for the sake of this nation's health and for my family, I have no other choice. His face grew fiercer. However, this doesn't mean our nation will weaken. We are still strong together. I am still here, and I'll do everything I can to make sure we prosper no matter what. Not only for our present, but also for our future. As the speech continued, Overflow and Dragonel watched from the broadcast for themselves. And Dragonel was unpleased to hear this news as he broke the TV with a one-swift punch. And there goes $500.
You can rebuild it.
He walks away upset.
This is not how I wanted to kill him.
Overflow shrugged at hearing that. Oh, cry me a river. What's wrong? Things didn't go according to plan? Grow up. So what if you didn't get a warrior battle from him? You're still going to kill him. Dragonel stares back on the muse. Don't give me that look. Dragonel looks boy annoyed. Regardless, the plan doesn't change. In fact, it might be smart to attack now. Dragonel looks back and confused. Overflow clamped as Dardanelle brought over a container. No doubt this time they're going to fight along with him. And based on your carelessness, you aren't winning that fight easily. The container opens to reveal a metallic suit inside it. In order to ensure your victory, you need a little oomph to push through. Dragonel walks closer to see a reflection on it. With a smile, he nods proudly.
I think I like it.
Finally, we go back to the dock where Eileen, Catherine, and Edric wait. They were about to leave now that they hadn't done all they could do.
It's a shame we can't do much more.
The others are in agreement.
It is, but we already said what we could. Let's just hope that he manages to figure it out.
I think it's time we go anyway. Don't want the Overlord to come attack us at a time like this. Especially if you three are going by yourselves. Shocked, they turn around and see him stand there. In a proud stance, he revealed he's mostly healed with only the scars of a Dragonel scratch remaining on his body. Happily, they all went over to hug him. Though they did overwhelm him, causing him to fall down the dock. They laugh as this happened before getting back up.
Good to see you again. You had us all worried.
Yeah, I get it. It took me a while to figure it out, but thanks to your guys' support and everyone else's, he looks directly at Edric. I got myself on the right path. They smile while nodding. Great to hear. He then brings his hand out. Does it mean you want to come back? As they're setting his hand, Dragonel does their handshake with pride. I'm willing to go anywhere with my brother from a different mother. That's when they both proceed to point at each other confidently. And father, They laughed. As they laughed, they then heard the horn of a boat come closer. Though, there is one thing I want to do because of my actions. They all stared at him weirdly. He then looks past the boat with determination. He's still out there, isn't he? And he probably won't be too happy that you're still alive. He nods confidently as he looks on. I have a score to settle with him. And Dragonel nodded confidently as well.
And you can expect us to support you all the way.